that suggested in the 2020 report that India ranked 63rd out of the 190 economies in terms of ease of doing business. Then again, it also varies from state to state and the respective policies and incentives that they provide.
Industry should be based on what regulations you come into, right? So, for example, Web3. If you want to get into a Web3 business model in India, it is not impossible, but then it becomes a high risk model. Not whatever you are enjoying, I would always suggest, like I've always been suggesting you, because I am 8 years elder than you. I have seen those phases in my life already, right? So that way, I always tell you ki don't think about things that you can't do. Just focus on things that you enjoy doing. स्टेज पे पहुंचने के लिए इतनी मेहनत लगती है कि आप खुद ही बोलते हो कि भाई अगर ये प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं है तो लेट्स जस्ट स्टॉप डूइंग इट सो
Hello and welcome everyone to my podcast That's So Interesting, where I talk to interesting people and get to know how they became so interesting. I'm your host Dia, and today I have a very special guest with me. She's a woman entrepreneur, an angel investor, and the co-founder of 10,000 Startups India, the fastest growing virtual incubator and accelerator for sector agnostic startups. She's passionate about mentoring entrepreneurs and guiding them into becoming seasoned business leaders. She's also a speaker, a host, and a coffee lover. She's none other than Hani Kithani. She is also my sister who I had to send an entire formal mail to get her onto my podcast, even though she's sitting right in the next room.
you know the drill, Dia. Hi, Dia. Thank you so much for inviting me. Happy to be part of your new adventure, and let's hope for the best. I thought you'll be naming this the Kithani sisters, though.
We can also make another podcast for the same.
Also,
Would
people must be wondering why aren't we on the same location, being siblings? But we are Kithani sisters. What can we do?
सेटअप में थोड़ी कमी थी, नहीं तो हम कर लेते. Okay, anyway, I'll start the session now. I'd like to start with let's just start with how did you become the co-founder of 10KSI? You could throw some light about how you got there and the story that everybody asks you. I'd just like to let my viewers know about the same.
Sure. It is a very interesting story. So I'll begin with my experience, the complete experience background. So I've completed my master's in human resources, and I joined a corporate job in a fintech MNC based out of Mumbai, and I have 2+ years of experience into human resources as a recruitment specialist. Change or switch my job. I met my co-founder in the other company, and I don't know if, but that's where he hired me for his own, venture, which he started, 6 months ago, in the back end, and that's where he said that you'll be the perfect fit for my startup, and I would love to have you on board in my startup. So I was like, a startup, okay. Anyway, being a Sindhi, being business in my blood, I really wanted to eventually start my own business, right? Like I was keeping that capital aside for me to, 5 years down the line, that was the vision. I wanted to be an entrepreneur always. So I was like, yeah, let's join a startup as an employee, learn what are the processes, how do you go about in a startup, and then eventually maybe start your on your own, right? So so yeah, I joined in as an HR, and within a month COVID hit.
Yeah.
So that was the case, and after COVID hit, we were anyway a virtual platform as a startup for women entrepreneurs, connecting to global investors and mentors. And after COVID hit, we became universal. So a lot of things I took up on my plate. For example, operations, go to market, business development, lead generation, relationship management with my startups, relationship management with the global investors. So a lot of things, which made my team realize, which is a big responsibility. And they eventually designated me as the co-founder of the company within 3 months of the company, within 3 months from when I joined. So yeah, that's my journey of how I became a co-founder of a startup.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'd also like to talk about how did you become so interesting on LinkedIn? Should we start creating content and getting ourselves out there on LinkedIn, and how?
Very good question, Dia. And you know that I've asked you also a lot to be active on LinkedIn, stay on LinkedIn. In fact, I don't know why you didn't mention this, but you have worked a little bit for me, and you know how it is, how important it is to be visible when you are an entrepreneur or when you are in a startup. So not just in a startup, right? Even if you're in corporate, you must have your own network. You must have your own set of people which believe in you as a person, as an individual. So your personal branding becomes very, very important.
Yeah.
And why LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn is a global network, right? And it's a professional one. I wouldn't say you should refrain from an Instagram or Facebook for that matter, or YouTube. But on LinkedIn, you must be active because it gives you that edge, either as a professional or as an entrepreneur, or even as a person who is maybe a philanthropist. So, so yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is a very important platform. I would suggest all. I always keep on encouraging my team members to be visible on LinkedIn. I
Hmm.
have become, you know, I have 10K following on LinkedIn. So that is a milestone achieved for myself.
Exactly.
So LinkedIn, yes, is a very important platform for all of the people out there, not just the students. Yeah. So it's important to start whenever you can.
So could you give us a few tips maybe on like what kind of audience are present there and how should we create content so as to we can grow as much as 10K as I has did from scratch without inorganic marketing. It's all organic, which is surprising.
True, true. So that is one achievement, once again, I'm very proud of, where our community is completely organic, right? I have that kind of a mindset where if your following is not organic, I don't know if it is feasible, or I don't know if it is working for you in the coming future.
Yeah.
So it is important to be organic, but obviously with the kind of budgets that you may have in place, or with the kind of requirements that you may have in place, you could definitely do some performance marketing kind of a thing. But yeah, coming back to your question, what are the tips to use to increase your LinkedIn engagement? One is try and connect to people within your niche or within your skill set, similar to your skill set. Basically, keep on connecting, keep on building network. If possible, get on a meeting with them, get on a short Google Meet or a Zoom meet of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, drop a message saying, hey, hi, nice to connect with you, seeing that we are from a similar industry, happy to be in touch. And if possible, let's get on a call. Yeah, let's get to know each other. So keep on reading, and keep on maybe writing also sometimes, where if you find a topic in particular very interesting, you can definitely write your thoughts on LinkedIn, and also engage people by asking them what do they think about the particular topic, because all of your community or network is pretty much relevant to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are two, three things that is definitely very important to begin, and eventually you will learn a lot in terms of how to keep that going.
They say it rightly, your network is your net worth. So seeing that,
Exactly. Yeah.
seeing that 10,000 startups India started on LinkedIn and then you built it from scratch, you built your network so well in the span of just 2 to 3 years. It's all happened due to networking and the service that you bring
Absolutely.
to the table. So, just along with the content that you create, you need to be just as valuable to your networks as well.
Absolutely. In fact, we are also global. So yeah, that is again an added advantage. Being sitting in Mumbai, I have connects across the globe: US, UK, Hong Kong, Japan, or Malaysia. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's another advantage that you have if you have a LinkedIn network.
Also managed to hold so many events just through the power of like networking. You talked about how did you become the co-founder of 10KSI. Let's talk about what is your role in 10KSI as a co-founder. Now you also did mention that you did a lot of things that led you to being the co-founder. But now that 10KSI has grown so much, and what is your role in 10KSI right now?
Very interesting question, because in a startup, if you're a co-founder, you actually have to be a generalist. When I say generalist, you cannot be only a marketing person, you cannot be only a salesperson, you cannot be only an operations person. You have to be a generalist. I'm not saying that you should not be focusing on your strengths. That is obviously your majority of the time that you have to invest in the business. But yes, you have to understand everything else as well. So speaking about my roles at 10,000 Startups India, I have like I mentioned, operations, so handling the compliance part of it, handling the accounting part of it, um, handling the payrolls, expenses, vendors, agreements, MOUs part of it. All of these things are partially outsourced, but definitely requires a lot of nitpicking from my end, a lot of supervision from my end. So that takes a little bit of bandwidth. Also, the revenue generation part. So that is between both the co-founders, but majorly it is Linesh who manages to close the transactions as well, and then take it forward. A lot of challenges, because there are two people, two perspectives. um you will obviously not always be on the same page, but I am really glad to say that we have achieved that 3 years wala target, right? So I have heard कि एक startup अगर 3 साल टिक जाती है, तो
Hmm.
आपको पता चलता है कि वो 3 साल के आगे जाएगी या वो बंद पड़ जाएगी.
Hmm.
तो we have achieved that target of crossing the 3 years line. And yeah, that is what we both are proud of today as a bootstrap startup.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I've seen both of you working so hard and so well and organizing so many things. Even the Namakudla entire TV show that we all went and you all let me have an experience of that, the Karnataka TV show. That was awesome. The coordination between you two
Yeah.
was amazing. This brings me to my next question, that is, I am a teenager, and there are a lot of teenagers like me who just dream to become an entrepreneur. Now, of course, अगर मैं Google पे जाऊंगी और search करूंगी how to become an entrepreneur, मुझे आएगा कि get an idea. Now, when I get an idea, even if I do or do not get an idea, where do I go? What resources do I refer to make my idea a reality? And where do I find ideas if I don't have an idea already?
आई थिंक मैंने इसका अगर एकदम करेक्ट आंसर दे दिया, सो आई बी लाइक विशिंग वेल कि ओके, नाउ शी विल टेल अस कि नेक्स्ट आइडिया क्या होना चाहिए. सो आइडिया तो आपको कोई नहीं बता सकता कि क्या होना चाहिए, बट व्हाट यू कैन डू as a person, if you want to start something on your own, what you can do is you can analyze the problems around you. That is what I mean. This is cliche, but this is true. You will have to look out for problems that you feel is a problem for majority of the people out there, and if you feel that you can provide a solution which is an optimized solution at this stage, at an idea stage, where you feel that okay, let us try something. Now I'm going step by step. Initially, now you identified something as a problem. Um, you feel that you have spoken to people, you feel that this problem is something that I can solve. And now coming to the execution part of it. Now, how do you execute this idea as a startup, right? Now, I will not say on a first day that you can go and announce to the people, oh, I'm starting a startup, would you like to join me, would you like to buy my services or a product, or whatever you come up with it. no, that is not the right way. What is the right way is to evaluate a lot, is to research a lot, is to do a beta testing, meeting people, um what do we say, take samples, sample testing you can do, you can talk to a lot of people, understand more in depth, और कैसे इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं, और कितना लेस कॉस्ट में इसको सॉल्व कर सकते हैं, और और कितने लोग हैं जो एक्चुअली आपका सोल्यूशन बाय करने के लिए रेडी है, राइट? बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली एज अ स्टार्टअप यू मे बी अ प्री रेवेन्यू, बट अल्टीमेटली द aim is to generate revenue and bring money on the table. So that is where you will have to talk to a lot of people as an idea stage. You will have to meet a lot of mentors. Now this is a very important point for teenagers like you all, where if you want, even if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, right, I'll still suggest, uh, I have always told you that you should definitely connect to the right people in the industry which you feel that are relevant to your domain, and talk to them about their experience. What happens is you learn from them and you save your time. So they have invested their 30 years conducting some mistakes. Now they will tell you in that those mistakes within the 3 hours that you meet them and talk to them and understand their challenges that they face. And now those, you can avoid those mistakes of 30 years and save your time and do everything within 3 years. So that is another suggestion that I would give to teenagers out there, where get mentors on board, talk to them within your industry. जो भी आपने problem identify किया है, talk to mentors within that industry. So for example, if it's a tech side of it, if it is a ed tech, education tech, talk to mentors within that industry, particular sector. And yeah, eventually you will figure out a lot of things. One would be your product development, other would be going to the market with the product, and then once you go in the market, how to scale up within the market, that is another thing. And then eventually, once you start generating some traction, once you see that you are now generating some revenue and now you are becoming a little bit either break even or a profitable kind of a model, then you can definitely go for the funding part of it, the most glamorous part that we feel is for a startup.
That was intense. Uh, even though you did try to make it sound like it's doable, but it was pretty difficult to just take that in.
Absolutely. I mean, even we are a startup, right? So it took us 3 years to identify a lot of things and bring or productive things to our customers, or bring that value to our customers, because we were learning through the process. So
Right.
that's where we also met a lot of mentors, thankful to the community also to give that support to us, extended support from our community and the mentors that guided us.
You talked about getting mentors. Where do you suggest we get these mentors from?
Right. So you can get them anywhere, right? It can be your college professor, it can be your connect on a LinkedIn, it can be either your cousin, it can be for you, it can be your sister. So, I mean, not just for you, right? I love mentoring. So you can find people, you know, there are a lot of platforms also these days which are launched in terms of mentorship. You can definitely connect to the right mentor through various platforms.
Question is from my friend who was also very interested in your journey and how you built 10,000 Startups India. He wanted to know, with like the policies like ONDC and National Logistics Policy and all of the other measures and the scalability and the population of India, he was wondering how easy is it to start a business in India compared to other countries?
I will say starting a business, not just in India, starting a business anywhere for
Yeah,
that matter is not easy.
yeah,
Um, Anywhere you go, you will find some or the other, either regulation or a policy, or um, taxation policies, or different kind of compliances that you will have to follow as a business. See,
mm,
it's about you, how you weigh your options in terms of these different parameters. And that becomes very important for you to, identify at a very early stage about what you want to do in that sense, or how much restrictions or regulations you want to, get into when it comes to regular policies part of it, which is external
Hmm.
affairs. Basically, it's an external affairs, and it is not in your control. So it
Right.
becomes difficult to project a particular result based on that, but you can definitely evaluate. You can do
Yeah.
a SWOT. You can identify the risks
Hmm.
involved in a particular regulation, where you are either setting up your business or starting
Hmm.
your business or doing a beta testing or whatever for that matter,
Hmm.
or different industry. The choosing of your industry should be based on what regulations you come into, right? So for example, web3,
Hmm.
if you want to get into a web3 business model in India, it is not impossible, but then
Fine.
it becomes a high risk model,
Hmm.
right? So that way, or it's a non-tech business, right? So for example, you're getting into a practo business model जहाँ पे आप medicines को buy and sell कर रहे हो, या aggregating model of medicines है. So
Hmm.
there different repercussions or different compliances will come in place.
Hmm.
So yeah, what I would conclude is you can weigh your options, you can identify the risks of external matters, and accordingly implement your business model.
Yeah. Research that suggested in the 2020 report that India ranks 63rd out of the 190 economies in terms of ease of doing business. Then again, it also varies from state to state and the respective policies and incentives that they provide. So,
So coming to the same example of Web3, right? It's way easier for you to do something into Web3 in a Dubai kind of a country, where
yeah.
it's easier for you to, in external way, like in the external affairs kind of a model.
Hmm.
So yeah, it becomes less riskier in Dubai than in India.
Yeah, exactly. India faces a lot of challenges in terms of enforcing contracts and then registering property for tax paying. That was interesting. Thank you for the input. I'll move on to the next question, which was uh, now we're going to talk about venture capitalism. So, if you stumbled upon pitfalls of venture capitalism. So, what a venture capitalist does is he invests in your startup and then he takes some sort of equity in it. Now, if he has equity in it, he'll also have some say in it. So, ऐसा बोलते हैं कि venture capitalists take decisions that will be in terms of profit and not in terms of the originality of the vision of the founders. So, ये pitfall से हम बचे कैसे?
It may not be completely true कि venture capital short form is VC. So VCs are more focused on profitability. It may not be completely true. Why? Because VCs are also keen to invest at a very early stage. Sometimes
Hmm.
when the idea is pretty disruptive, and when the idea is a niche tech, which not many people are doing, because it's potential for them. What they focus on majorly, in my experience with the VCs, are uh, founders' capability, founders' background, one. The second thing is market potential of a particular product. And the third thing is uh, product market fit. That
Hmm.
is a very important word, and I would suggest you research on that also, because that will definitely help you understand uh, how important it is, not just for the VC, right? For making your business a successful one, as an entrepreneur, to understand the market product fit is very important.
Right.
uh, because you might have other products doing the same thing, and you want to understand what is the differentiation that you are bringing in
Hmm.
as a product or a service. So yeah, VCs will not just focus on your profitability. Obviously, they will be interested to learn more about how much profit you can make, and how much margins you can increase with a lot of back end work, how much you can optimize your cost, how much you can scale your business, and what is the margins that you can provide to them. That is definitely important for an investor because they expect some returns out of you. But that is not the only objective of a VC. Getting a VC support is not that easy that it looks, right. Looking at the media, looking at the news that you come across, there is a lot of hustling, there is a lot of background work that is happening before a VC comes in. So VC स्टेज पे पहुंचने के लिए इतनी मेहनत लगती है कि आप खुद ही बोलते हो कि भाई अगर ये प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं है तो लेट्स जस्ट स्टॉप डूइंग इट. सो
Okay, interesting. Okay,
सो या.
right. Okay, so I was also going to talk about the other sources of funding that a startup can get. That is family and friends, crowdfunding, and angel investing. If you could just go about these terms in a very uber manner and then talk about which one is better than the other.
Absolutely. I think this is a very good question to ask, not commonly asked in different forums, because we are all very, you know, we all fancy a fundraising or a Shark Tank wala funding, private equity के exchange में आपको कितना millions of funds मिला. So that is secondary, right? What you have to start with is definitely something a little bit of your own investment initially,
Hmm.
because that gives investor that confidence that you are invested in a particular idea that you've come up with. I'm not saying आप millions invest करो, but कुछ type का risk तो आपको भी लेना है initially. The second stage comes is, now you have scaled up a little bit. Now you have a MVP. MVP is a minimum viable product. Now you want to go to market, for example. Now you can involve your friends and family where you know that there's a product that can go to the market, and
Hmm.
you have a chance of generating a little bit of revenue. So they are also comfortable investing.
Hmm.
So you get that particular amount from your friends and family. You can give them some equity in exchange to them. Then comes go to market. Now you have the product with the friends and family money. You put it in the market. Now you are visible on the retail stores, for example, 2 3 uh, you have collaborated with, and now you are visible in the market. Now you want to scale it up. So now you'll need more capital. So how do you get this capital if you are not getting the VC, or if you're not getting any seed funding from angel investors? There
Hmm.
are options that you can look out for. Uh, if you are confident about your startup, and you are confident to bootstrap your startup,
Hmm.
there are options of debt funding. You can definitely opt for a debt funding from either a bank, or even there are debt funds out there which give you debt funding in exchange of your revenue numbers. Okay, so they project a particular number, in the sense that you will definitely come up with this business in the coming period of time, and then you get unsecured loan in exchange numbers. But for that, you will have to have a little bit of experience. Your business have to be at least 2 years old. In that sense, you're generating some revenues in the back end, and based on that, get the some percentage of such money as a
Hmm.
debt, which is a high interest rate. But why it is good? Because you get access to good people in the industry, relevant people in the industry. These are again angel investors investing in your startup, but in a debt format.
Hmm.
So so yeah, revenue based funding is there, and bank loans and all of that. Yeah, so these are few things. Speaking about stages of a particular fundraising, you start from a seed capital stage, you come up to a pre-series stage, then there comes a series A, series B, and the series goes on that way, as in when you receive different types of funding in the coming time.
Okay. So now I'll move on to the philosophical side of this conversation. Now, you've talked about growing on LinkedIn. You are an entrepreneur yourself. You need to have a personal brand to represent your startup. You need to have credibility as well. Now, when I go on LinkedIn as a teenager, all I see is other teenagers interning at Google, interning at Microsoft, doing things that would take me a lot of time to do and achieve. So, how do you overcome the stresses of the perfection that is depicted on social media? Like you,
Hmm. That is a very, very good question, because it is definitely applicable to all the people out there, even if you're a professional. You will see your team member working maybe sometimes performing better than you, or as an entrepreneur you will see that, oh, that startup is doing way better than what I'm doing today. So the anxiety is always there. The insecurity will always be there. It's just about, you have to take everything one day at a time.
Hmm.
That is the mantra that I have implemented within my journey as an entrepreneur. Because um, if you don't go one day at a time, you will definitely not be able to achieve what others have achieved within a particular tenure of period, right? So they have not achieved, definitely not achieved that within a day or two, right? They are there in the industry since a long, long time. The
Hmm.
VCs that I am in touch with are 20 years old, 50 years old, in fact, sometimes. So me being a 3-year old in the industry, uh, I am still at a very good stage, I would say, because I have done that throughout the 3 years. It's not within 3 days I became this, right? So, so now that I understand that if I put in my 100%, it is definitely possible for me to become something like this at a fifth year or a sixth year, right? Because they are doing it at the 12th year or a 13th year.
Right.
I am definitely 5 to 10 years ahead.
Right.
So, so that is the kind of mindset that I have set for myself. Take it
Right.
one day at a time. Even if my competitor, or even if any other person or any other startup are raising millions or a trillions, it should not impact me, because I am sure the grind is real.
Yeah.
And to reach there, it has definitely taken that kind of effort, and whatever I have putting in, I have been getting those results, and I'm really glad about it. So I also would suggest everyone else to, or at least teenagers like you, right? Because nowadays teenagers are so aware of so many opportunities. They feel like they have this fear of missing out on things, but actually you are not. Whatever you are enjoying, I would always suggest, like I've always been suggesting you, because I am 8 years elder than you. I have seen those phases in my life already, right? So that way, I always tell you ki, don't think about things that you can't do, just focus on things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So that makes you faster, and it makes your life easier. So
Or
yeah.
the question to you would be, how do you suggest people like me or like anybody for that matter, aspiring entrepreneurs can join your platform, 10,000 Startups India?
So
So
it's
it's
pretty
pretty
simple.
simple.
You
You
just
just
have
have to
to go
go
to
to
my
my
website
website
and
and
register
register
there,
there,
join
join
our
our
community.
community.
It's a
It's a
simple
simple
Google
Google
form
form
that you
that you
have
have
to
to
register
register
on.
on.
My
My
team
team
gets
gets
in
in
touch
touch
with
with
you
you
and
and
understand
understand
what
what
you're
you're
looking
looking
at,
at,
what
what
you're
you're
looking
looking
for,
for,
and
and
we
we
understand
understand
your
your
requirements,
requirements,
and
and
we
we
keep
keep
in
in
touch
touch
with
with
all
all
the
the
people
people
that
that
are
are
registered
registered
on
on
our
our
website.
website.
We
We
keep
keep
on
on
sharing a
sharing a
lot
lot
of
of
updates
updates
with
with
all
all
of
of
them,
them,
in
in
the
the
sense
sense
where
where
we
we
come
come
up
up
with the
with the
different
different
competitions,
competitions,
we
we
come
come
up
up
with the
with the
different
different
webinars,
webinars,
knowledge
knowledge
sharing
sharing
sessions,
sessions,
um, a
a
lot
lot
of
of
cohorts
cohorts
in
in
that
that
sense.
sense.
So
So
it's
it's
pretty
pretty
simple.
simple.
Just
Just
register
register
on
on
our
our
website,
website
or
or
reach
reach
out
out
to
to
us
us
either
either
on
on
LinkedIn
LinkedIn
or
or
Instagram,
Instagram,
and
and
we
we
get
get
in
in
touch
touch
with
with
you.
you.
So
So I have been a part
that
of
is
a
it.
lot of your events, so I can vouch for how fun and useful they are. Thank you, honey, for joining us today, and thank you, listeners, for being part of my podcast and sticking till the end. I hope you all learned something new. Don't forget to tune in next time for another episode of That's So Interesting.
खाने में क्या है